Hello, salam, shalom, namaste, sat sri akal, aloha, hola, ciao, bonjour, and buna. So very excited to be with you today. And we have a very special guest with us today, Hyesha Barrett, who's a life coach and a neuro transformational coach. And I'm so excited to have you with us. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Samia, for having me. I really appreciate it. I love to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Yay. Will you please jump right in and tell us more about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. I'd love to. So my name is Hyesha Barrett, as you've just said. I have been a life coach for the past 4 years, and I have been a neurotransformational coach for the past 2 years. I'm now studying to become a master neurotransformational coach. It's a bit of a mouthful, let's say, but it's an amazing profession that I love to be in. And I basically help all my clients to go back into their past, into their childhood, to rework their neurology, to rework their belief patterns that have been instilled in them from childhood. And I love mainly to work with mothers. I'm a mother myself. I have two young ones. I've got one daughter who's called Saria. She's nearly 7. And I have my son Xavier. He is nearly 2. So my hands are full, but they're full with beautiful, beautiful memories and beautiful experiences that we explore every day. And obviously I have my work as well, but it's all about finding the right balance. And I feel that that's a very appropriate thing to talk about today, because finding balance in our lives, especially as mothers, it's very difficult. We can feel overwhelmed. We can feel stressed at times. We can feel like we're not in alignment. And that is when we get thrown out of kilter. And that is when we feel like we are not going down the right path, and we feel overwhelmed and stressed, and we feel like, things are not going the right way. We don't feel grounded. We feel like we are not in control. And so, it's all about creating that beautiful balance between work and family and relationships, and, with the husband as well, and social life. There's so many things which we can get into in a minute. Yes, that is basically me in a nutshell, Samia. So thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I love that you help moms because, that is just so important. And, as you were talking about all the challenges that moms can deal with, I was thinking about how usually it's such a thankless job to be a mom. It's like people just don't appreciate it. We don't recognize how challenging it really is. On the one hand, I think there's this saying about how it's the most challenging job in the world, and it's one of the jobs that comes with no instruction manuals.
Oh, yes. No instruction manuals and no appreciation, as you said, in some way. But that's why we as mothers, we need to appreciate ourselves, and we need to celebrate ourselves, especially not only as mothers to mothers, but definitely to really celebrate our wins daily, because we can really get lost in the daily grind. We wake up, and before we know, we're already putting the kids to sleep, and we have some sick on our shoulder that we haven't washed off. And, we haven't had a shower in God knows how many days. And we just feel like we are really out of alignment. We're out of balance. But it is such a rewarding, job per se. It's, the journey of motherhood is just so beautiful. But the first few years are definitely very, very stressful. So to all you mothers out there who are experiencing it, my hat goes off to you. And honestly, you're doing a fantastic job. But do make sure that you celebrate your wins and you take time for yourself daily.
Yeah. Can you share some examples of how you actually create better balance in your life as a mom, or help other moms to do that? And, I'm sure, as you've been saying, a part of that is the celebrations, but what else is there? What else does it take? Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. Hope you're getting value out of it. For your information, this episode has been sponsored by the Happiness 101 program. Are you a change maker, coach, trainer, or healer? Are chains of fear holding you back from making the impact and income you desire? Using a unique combination of positive psychology and the spiritual wisdom of our most effective change makers, the Happiness 101 program helps you break through your limiting beliefs and manifest the abundance and success you desire with fun and ease. Interested? Book a free Happiness 101 exploration call with me, your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Just use my online calendar link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I go into that, I'd like to also mention that there's not only, like the thing that creates balance in our lives is to have so many different, what's it called? Environments. They're called environments, which is what I teach my clients to work with, where we basically make sure that everyone is in balance. So that's your body, your health, your fitness, your well-being. That's yourself, which is basically your emotions, your personal growth, your money. So everything relates to finances. So that's cash in the bank. That's your cash flow in your business, if you have one, or even your relationship to money. That's your career. You may have a career, you may not have a career. And that's that's another ball game altogether. But so there's also that. There's your core relationships. So your partners and your partner, if you have a spouse, but basically love in general. Your support system. So that's family, that's friends, that's accountability partners. It's a coach if you have one, which I highly recommend that you do because they can really keep you on track. It's your environment. So getting out in nature, that is definite in order for you to feel more grounded, to get out in nature, barefoot, to feel the energies of the world, of the sand. If you can walk in sand or in grass or in the woods, it's very beneficial. And our physical surroundings where we live. So if we have too much clutter around us, we have to make sure that we declutter a lot. And there's also the fun and me time, there's spirituality, and there is contribution. So these are the 10 things that if one of them is out of kilter, it affects all the others. And generally what a lot of us believe is that, if I have a good relationship, then I can't also have a career. Or if I have a good body and I'm taking care of my health, I can't also take care of my kids. And it's not true. You can have everything. You can really, really create a perfect balance in your life. It's all a matter of knowing how to say no. It's all a matter of creating boundaries. It's all a matter of taking care of yourself. It's all a matter of doing things that make sure that you are in alignment with yourself and that you don't give your energies to others. Because we're people pleasers. We like to help others. We like to feel that we are helping and that we're of service. It makes us feel good. But then we get depleted. Our energy gets depleted. And then we wonder why we're out of, we feel overwhelmed. But the way that if we think of it like I'm helping someone, I'm also someone. Yeah. So let me help myself. So that's a couple of things. There's also make sure that you acknowledge and accept yourself. You have so many resources like time and energy and money, and you can't do it all. So just make sure that you're not a problem solver for everyone, and you cannot do everything all the time, and that's okay. And manage yourself. It's not time management, but it's managing yourself. So oftentimes we say, I don't have enough time, or if only I had more time. But these are excuses. You can have more time if you focus on the things that you want to accomplish and not spend hours, let's say, scrolling social media or binge watching Netflix. You make your own decisions in life, your own choices. And that comes from an empowered state. there's this great management matrix that I use with my clients as well. It's a great management, time management tool. So it's like, what is important and urgent? So say, for example, there was a crisis, there was a pressing problems, there was a deadlines, accidents, for example, that happen. And the next one is what is important, but not urgent. So what's long-term planning or finding new opportunities, your health, your personal development and goal setting, for example. The third one is what is not important and urgent. So let's say you have visitors or you're opening some certain mails or you're doing some certain favors. And the fourth one is what is not important and not urgent. So like social media, watching TV or some certain activities. There's also a thing called add and subtract. So do more of what energizes you and less of what depletes you. As I said earlier, you have to set your boundaries because that's a big thing. And it's difficult for us to set boundaries. But once we do that, it's so rewarding. Nothing feels better than being in harmony. And also, as I said earlier, it's good to say no, and it's good to schedule time for yourself. So those are a few things that I feel is very, very important and can help us for sure to find our inner peace and in turn our alignment and harmony and balance.
That you mentioned so many like really important aspects of how to create more balance. Thank you for that.
Most
And
welcome.
it made me actually think about what is balance, because there's so many things that, you're dealing with. And sometimes I know, like when we think about balance, we think about, oh, like there's this equal weight that we're giving to whatever we're trying to balance, right? But it sounds like that definition of balance may not be the right way to think about balance when it comes to managing our lives. So how do you understand balance?
So for me, balance, it's more the way that we handle our various elements in our life. So all those 10 elements that I told you about, it's all literally about being able to look at them one by one and being able to assess where we are in our lives right now. So say, for example, motherhood. We're talking about motherhood right now. So how am I feeling right now in terms of motherhood? What is energizing me? What is depleting me? Forget everything else because I'm only focused on motherhood. The more that we, with everything in life, if we have too much of everything, then we get overwhelmed. So put all those other 9 elements aside, environments aside, and just focus on one. So what's energizing me? What's depleting me? Then so do more of what's energizing you, do less of what's depleting you. And then you also see where you are in your life right now in terms of motherhood. Where would you like to be? So you can follow certain people that you look up to. You can follow, either on social media or people that you know in person who is an inspiration. And you say yourself, okay, I'd like to be in that position. And see where they are, get tips and pointers from them and work towards that. So that's one. And it's amazing, like the body knows, the body will grow when it realizes that you are in a state of growth yourself, you're in a state of learning yourself. When you want to work on yourself and do better for yourself, and you work on one area of your life, it will start moving over to all the other areas of your life. And then that's when you start creating the balance. Otherwise, there will always be imbalance. So yeah, that is basically my overall thought of what balance is.
Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. And so when you were, for example, mentioning about doing more of what energizes you and do less of what depletes you,
Yeah.
that sounds really wonderful. And
Yeah.
I share that actually with my clients too, and I work with them. And I'm like, it really needs to be one of our goals for us to do more and more of what we love and less of what we don't love. And
100%.
eventually, I know for me, certainly the goal is to get to a point where I'm only doing what I love.
Yes,
Um,
beautiful.
and so that is such a um, energizing and inspirational idea and vision for me. Honestly, that's and also been really helpful for
Mhm.
me in terms of how I make my decisions about what I choose to do or not do in my life.
Exactly. Wonderful.
And yeah, I think the challenge that people can perceive when you first
Mm,
share this perspective with them is that they're like, oh, but I don't have the resources. Like if I,
mhm.
for example, as a mom, there are things that absolutely energize you about being a mom, but then there are things that drain you, and it's also part of your of what you have to do as a mom. So for example,
Right.
I don't know, like maybe the washing of the diapers is the part that you don't love to do,
Yes.
but you're like, oh, I have to do it. If I don't do it, who will? You know?
Yeah.
And so you
Yeah.
feel like you have no choice but to keep
Yes.
doing these things that are draining you. So what do
Yes.
you do?
Yeah. So say, for example, the diaper situation. So then you find different options. You can go with disposable diapers. You can, allow your child to go to sit in the bath and just, do his business in the bath. For example, those are certain things that can be done. What I mean is that there's always a plan B. There's always another option. You know, the one thing that came to mind was when you said about not having a choice. So say, for example, in the West, unlike where I live in Oman, we're very blessed to have nannies, very blessed here. So I can concentrate on my work and I can concentrate on enjoying the good times with my kids. And I have my nanny and my maid who can take care of the house, to clean the house. But not all of us are fortunate to be in that position. And I understand that. And so there are people who feel very, very stressed out because the laundry pile is building, and there's more diapers to clean, and the baby is crying, and you have to cook the food, and the phone is ringing, and yeah, it gets overwhelming. I get it. I totally get it. Breathe, stop and breathe.
Mm,
We need to connect to our breath. We need to connect to our body. And one thing that I've learned over time as well is that the more we have to do, the more we want to do, and the more we get in that spiral. Take a breather, step out, step back, call a friend, call a neighbor, call your mom, call your husband. Say, I'm sorry, but I really need 10 minutes to myself. And those 10 minutes are so amazing to just energize yourself, just to get you into that zone again. And then do something that you love to do. It could be having a bath. It could be listening to a podcast. It could be reading a book. It could be taking a nap, and just to get yourself centered again. Because if we're working on overdrive all the time, not only are we going to be not beneficial to our babies, but how frazzled will we be to ourselves?
mm,
And in the long term, that's not going to help anyone.
yes.
So it's so crucial to just take a step back. I remember when my firstborn was, and we didn't have a nanny at the time, and she was crying. She was crying a lot, and I just got so stressed out to the point where they say that you shouldn't shake your baby, but I was at that point where I was like, oh my God, I just want to just shake the baby. I was so scared, and I was like, oh my God, I should just stop. My God, and I got so freaked out. I called my husband. I was like, you have to come back from work. I really need 10 minutes off. He came back, and I took a breather. I walked out in nature, like I grounded myself. And thank goodness it helps. It
Mm,
really, really does help. So honestly, guys, honestly, you beautiful mamas out there, I commend you if if you have, you're taking care of the kids, you've got a job, you're cleaning the house, you're doing the laundry and all that. It's a massive, massive upheaval. But
yeah.
again, celebrate your wins, take things slow. It doesn't matter if there's a big pile of laundry. It's okay. It doesn't matter if your house is a mess. It's okay. This will pass. it will be okay. And one good thing to know as well is that we're all in this together,
Mm.
and knowing that we have a community of people who are facing these problems as well makes it a lot easier. And we tend to not be so hard on ourselves, because as mothers, we want to like get our body back. We want to stop eating the greasy foods. We want to feel we have it all together all the time, but we don't. Behind closed doors, we don't. And I can say firsthand that, yeah, I've had many, many moments where I've broken down, and that's okay. It's okay. And it's good to get that emotion out of your body as well. So I'm a strong believer in that. When we have these strong emotions where we need to cry and shout and scream, don't bottle them inside. If you bottle them inside, where are they going to go? You're suppressing them. You're just pushing them further into your body. And how are they going to come out? They're going to come out in other ways, like an autoimmune problem, in headaches, in migraines, in gastroenteritis, in problems that your body is telling you, screaming for you for help. So just scream it out, punch a pillow, cry, get those emotions out. And us as women, it's easier for us to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know that, Samia, as well, that as soon as we release those emotions,
Mm.
there's a relief, right? There's like instant relief.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm a
Yeah.
big, big believer in that as well.
I love both of those aspects of what you just shared about how to deal with a situation like that. One, ask for help
Mm,
and take some time out to take care of yourself. That's all, I mean, like so important. And it
so,
made me think also about like this story of a dad actually that I was
mhm,
reading a while back. Um, I, I I think he was maybe a single dad or something. I don't know all the details,
mhm,
but he was also sharing about how he was feeling so overwhelmed and stressed out by everything that he needed to do. And
mm,
one of the things that he was really stressing about in the moment,
mhm,
he was talking to his coach, and his coach is the one who was sharing the story with us later on. So the
mhm,
coach asked him, okay, tell me one thing that's like really frustrating or stressful for you. And the dad said, well, it's that one of the things is that I have to drive my kid to school every morning before I
yeah,
go to work, and we have to sit in traffic.
oh my
And
God.
sitting in that traffic to drive to school is just the worst 30 minutes because we're like stuck in this like car and there's nowhere else to go, and things get loud and wild
Yeah,
and crazy in the back.
yeah, yeah.
And it just really is driving me crazy and making me
Mm,
stressed out. And
mhm,
so, similar to what I was expressing earlier, like one of the thoughts that he was having about the situation and why he
mhm,
was so frustrated and stressed by it was that he didn't have a choice
yeah,
about this situation. That it was something that he had to do because if he
mhm,
didn't do it, there was no one else to take the kid to
mm,
school.
mm.
And so the coach who was sharing this story, he said, um, I want you to, first of all, switch this thought that you don't have a choice.
I was just going to say that,
Yeah,
Samia. We
you have
all
to.
have a choice.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And he was like, you do have a choice because you
Yeah.
could just choose not to drive your kid to school. And if you make that choice, then what would happen? And and the dad was like, no, I don't have a choice because if I don't drive my kid to school, there's no one else who's going to be able to do that, and my kid will, you know, basically be at home and not going to school and not grow up educated and all of that.
Yeah.
And so the coach said, so what? So what if that happens? Like uh, you know, aren't you actually making a choice, a decision that it's more important to you that your kid get educated and go to school
Yeah.
rather than, you know, not have that happen for your kid. So it's like you're making a choice that your kid going to school is more important than what
Mm-hmm,
you have
mm-hmm.
to give up when
Yeah.
you take the time and, you know, the energy and so forth to
Mm-hmm,
drive
mm-hmm.
him to school
Yeah.
even if you don't want to. So you are making a choice
Yes.
and it's
And
based on your values and what you
yes,
really want
exactly.
for your
Yeah.
child. And it was like, oh my gosh, there's like a both for I think the dad in the story and for me as the
Mm.
listener, something like a light bulb went
Yeah.
off.
Went off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Sonia, the thing is, I completely agree with you there. It's a matter of perspective, right? It's all a matter of I don't have a choice to actually I do have a choice. And the thing is, okay, yes, he wants his child to be educated. So he chooses that he has to go and take his child to school. Those 30 minutes in the car, he can change how he views them.
Mhm.
Instead of like, oh my God, I don't want to be stuck in this traffic and road rage and panic. Look at that opportunity to spend 30 minutes with your child before you go to work. You know, sing nursery songs, ask him how his day went or how his night went, ask him what he's planning on doing for, for the day. Talk to the child, like view that as a beautiful time to bond with your child. Because I also have the same thing where we're stuck in traffic, where I'm driving my kids to school. And to tell you the truth, I have road rage. I really do. That's one thing where I feel a little bit out of balance because I'm not in control of that. When I'm in control, I feel I'm in balance. But
Yeah.
when my surroundings throw me out of balance, I feel a little bit out of control. But I've learned over time to just put on some songs that the kid likes, and sing along with the kid because they love to sing. They love to joke. They love to just be with, have daddy time,
Mm,
and I get it. Being a single father, there is guilt there. There's resentment there. There's sadness there. And sometimes looking at your child going, oh gosh, I wish that, having these negative thoughts does not help.
mm,
But then once we realize that, wow, I am providing an education for my child. I am spending time with my child in this car before I go to work. Things start changing,
mm,
and your whole energy starts changing and your whole perception starts changing. And then the child also will go, oh, look, daddy's in a happy mood. Daddy's smiling today. I'm going to smile too.
yeah.
When the child is very perceptive, when he sees that daddy is angry, he'll be like, oh, daddy's angry. I'm going to create a crazy fuss in the back too, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the energy it's electric. So
So
once the kid sees, oh, daddy's having a fun time, we're singing songs together, he's asking me how my day is, like we're planning what we're doing on the weekend, or we're planning what we're going to do when he picks me up, and then it becomes beautiful. And it becomes a
mhm,
beautiful daily practice
mm,
of gratitude, you know,
yeah.
and yeah, so I do agree with you. It's a matter of choice and it's a matter of changing your perspective of things.
Yes. Yes, because oh my gosh. I think that's such an important key because like you said, when it comes to something like traffic, it's not something you can control.
Exactly.
So the only thing you can control in that situation is your perspective, your mindset. And
Yes.
if your mindset is that of I don't have a choice,
Yeah.
then, of course it feels terrible because you feel out of control. And that is such a I mean, one of the fundamental human needs that we have is to feel a sense of power and control in our own lives. So no wonder it's
Absolutely.
so stressful and frustrating when we don't have that
Yeah.
need being met. Um, but yeah, okay, cool,
Mhm.
nice. Any last words of wisdom that you would love to share with us?
Um, Nothing really comes to mind right now, Samia, but I really appreciate being on this call. And I really do hope that the tips and what we've talked about has helped at least one mother out there, and I'm a strong believer in really, really just believing in yourself. We have to believe in ourselves in order to move forward, because who else is going to believe in us? If we
Mm,
don't believe in ourselves, no one else will. And we made a choice, talking about choices, to have a child. I know there are some people who haven't made a choice, and some situations have happened where they are in a bad place, where they are put in a position to take care of their child. So my heart goes out to you on that front. But, and even in that point, you're also a choice. So we always have to remember we are always, always at choice.
mm.
So yeah, thank you so much, Samia.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your perspective and your wisdom, and especially because you're coming not just from a place of theory, but you're actually practicing and sharing from, a place of real wisdom of, like living through uh, uh, what you're talking about and teaching and sharing. So I really appreciate
Well,
that. Thank you so much.
thank you so
And
much.
for our listeners, please know that we are adding Hyesha's links in the show notes so you can connect with her. Please check them out. And yeah, until we connect next time, I just wish you lots and lots of peace and joy.